Pick up a raw potato right now and take a bite. Starchy, dense, almost impossible to chew properly. And here's the thing, even if you force it down, your gut can barely extract anything useful from it. The calories are locked inside cellular walls. Your digestive system wasn't built to break open. Now roast that same potato over a flame for 20 minutes. Identical calories on paper, completely different food in reality. The heat shatters the starch molecules, pre-digests the cellular structure, and hands your body energy it can actually use all before you've even swallowed. That difference between raw and cooked may be the single most important moment in the entire history of our species. The oldest direct evidence of cooking sits inside fish teeth. In 2022, researchers analyzing remains at a site in Israel called Gesher Benot Yaakov found something remarkable. Huge freshwater carp, some growing over 6 feet long, had been heated at controlled temperatures roughly 780,000 years ago, not burned in a fire accidentally, deliberately cooked at low, sustained heat in a way that preserved the flesh. The species doing the cooking was almost certainly Homo erectus, not Homo sapiens, not Neanderthals, a different human entirely, one whose brain was significantly smaller than ours, who had been walking the earth for over 1 million years before that fish hit the fire. But here's the real question. What happened to the species after cooking began? Harvard anthropologist Richard Wrangham spent decades studying this and arrived at a conclusion that changed how we understand human evolution entirely. Cooking didn't just feed us better, it physically rebuilt us. Before cooking, our ancestors needed enormous guts to extract enough nutrition from raw, fibrous food. Processing tough plant matter and raw meat requires serious digestive hardware. Long intestines, powerful stomach acid, massive jaw muscles anchored to heavy skulls. Cooking outsourced that work to fire. Heat pre-digests food before it enters the body. Suddenly, the gut didn't need to be so large. Jaw muscles didn't need to be so powerful. The skull didn't need to be so thick to anchor them. And all that freed up energy, previously consumed by the metabolic cost of running a giant digestive system, went somewhere else. It went to the brain. The human brain consumes roughly a quarter of the body's total daily energy. No other organ demands anything close to that. Building a bigger brain required a reliable surplus of calories that raw food simply could not provide consistently enough. Wrangham calculated that Homo erectus would have needed to eat roughly 12 pounds of raw plant food daily, or 6 pounds of raw plants plus raw meat, just to survive. That's hours of chewing every single day, with almost no time for anything else. Cooking collapsed that requirement. More calories per bite, less time eating, less gut, more brain. The fossil record lines up with this almost exactly. Around 1.8 million years ago, something dramatic happened to the Homo lineage. Tooth size dropped sharply, gut cavity shrank, cranial capacity jumped by 42% compared to earlier ancestors. No single dietary change explains all of that simultaneously, except cooking. Wrangham argues the evidence points to Homo erectus making this transition around 1.8 million years ago. Larger brains and bodies, smaller guts, jaws, and teeth, all consistent with switching to a more tender and calorie-dense cooked diet. The critics point out the direct archaeological evidence of fire only reaches back 780,000 years. The gap between the anatomy and the hearths is real, but anatomy doesn't lie. Something changed that body, and fire is the only explanation that fits everything at once. There is one final detail that nobody talks about. Cooking created time. A chimpanzee spends up to 6 hours every single day chewing raw food just to meet its caloric needs. 6 hours every day. Just eating. Cooking reduced that to roughly 1 hour for early humans, 5 hours of freed time every day that didn't exist before fire touched food, 5 hours for tool making, for social bonding, for planning, for the slow accumulation of knowledge across generations that eventually became language, art, and everything built after. The campfire wasn't just where food got cooked, it was where we became who we are.